Trump's signature tariff policy just suffered a devastating double blow. Federal courts ruled his tariffs illegal, while American support plummeted from 52% to just 40%. The economic consequences are crushing families nationwide as prices skyrocket and Trump's credibility evaporates. Trump's promises keep crumbling under scrutiny. His latest claim about Coca-Cola switching to cane sugar highlights the disconnect between Trump's rhetoric and reality.
This week, President Trump, a fan of the soda, announced Coca-Cola agreed to go back to using real cane sugar in its signature drink, like manufacturers still do in Mexico. Coke, for its part, has not confirmed any change.
Just like his unconfirmed Coke claims, Trump's economic promises are falling apart. His performance on trade policy mirrors other spectacular failures. Watch this brutal sports analogy that perfectly captures his economic meltdown.
I'm a trash can, and I went ghost. When Texas needed me the most, I would be flipping burgers at McDonald's if my last name wasn't Manning, because I shat all over that field this afternoon.
Meanwhile, Trump continues defending his failed tariff policies with empty rhetoric about America first.
Later, in the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries. We used to do it. We can't do it anymore. We take care of countries all over the world. We pay for their military. We pay for everything they have to pay. And then when you want to cut back a little bit, they get upset that you're not taking care of them any longer. But we have to take care of our people, and we're going to take care of our people first. And I'm sorry to say that. And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first.
But the devastating reality exposes Trump's lies. CNN's brutal polling data reveals the complete collapse of public support for his cornerstone economic policy.
All right, new this morning, President Trump's efforts to reshape the nation's trade policy have taken a hit after a federal appeals court ruled that most of his sweeping global tariffs are unlawful. However, the ruling will not take effect until at least October 14th. Now, that gives the Trump administration time to file an appeal with the Supreme Court. CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton, joins me now on how Americans are feeling about tariffs. And it's interesting, you and I were talking about this. I never viewed tariffs as popular with Americans, but at least for Trump's base and supporters, at one point, they were really giving him the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, they really were, Bianna. And I will note, it was not just the base. It was the overall American public. And they have turned against tariffs the same way college football pundits have turned against Arch Manning after his performance in Columbus on Saturday. Look at this. New tariffs on imported goods. You go back to November of 2024. Look, the popular position was favor. They favored new tariffs on imported goods. 52%, 48% opposed. You go to this side of the ledger. Look at that. The opposition up like a rocket. We're talking about 60% opposing new tariffs compared to just 40% who favored. So it was majority favor back when Trump was reelected in November of 2024. Now it's a clear 3 in 5 Americans oppose it. The Americans have gotten a taste of the tariffs and they spit it right out.
So is the taste paying more? I mean, because that's how economists have always described this, as actually a tax on consumers.
Yes, that's exactly right. Why is the opposition up like a rocket? Well, it all comes down to money out of the pocketbook, right? Impact of tariffs on prices. Look at this in the short term. 77% of Americans now agree they raise prices in the short term. Look at this itty bitty number at the bottom. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. When you in fact can count it on your own hand, you know it's a small percentage. Just 4% of Americans believe that in the short term, tariffs decrease prices. Long term, look, this has long been the Donald Trump argument, right? That even if there's short term pain, in the long term will pay off. Not according to Americans. Impact of tariffs on prices, even over the long term, look at that. 50% say increase. Just 25%, just half the level, say decrease. And while 25% in this particular case is better than 4%, 25% is way less than 50% of Americans who say that, in fact, prices will increase over the long term because of tariffs.
Can you do me a favor and go find who the 4% are?
I will go ahead. I will do some
on
on the street reporting. I'm sure I can go out to Times Square and see what I can find out there.
Okay, but in all seriousness, from the tariff policy to the trade policy, how is it impacting Trump's overall approval?
Right, okay. If this was happening in a bubble, right, and it was, okay, I don't like tariffs, but it isn't impacting my overall view of Trump, I think Trump would be like, forget about it, doesn't matter. But this is why the political implications are so important, because Fox News literally asked, what's the top reason that Trump's doing a bad job? What ranks as number one? The economy, and tariffs ranks as number one. The number one reason why those who disapprove of Trump think he's doing a bad job, it comes right back to tariffs. The bottom line is this: when prices go up, presidential approval ratings go down, and that's exactly what we are seeing in the polling
Perhaps
data.
this was the deflection that Ron Brownstein was talking about in a segment in the last hour about the increase in these ICE raids, because they're deflecting from something the president is not happy about.
That's often something that Donald Trump will do, is if he sees something he doesn't like, he's going to go in the other direction and try and bring the American mindset with him.
All right. Harry Anton, good to be.
Meanwhile, labor leaders remind Americans what real economic priorities look like.
Good morning, union siblings. Thank you, Darlene, the Greater Boston Labor Council, but mostly all of you for being here to mark this year's Labor Day, which is our annual reminder that is the working class that is the backbone of America, not the billionaire class.
The numbers don't lie. Trump's tariff policy has collapsed spectacularly. Support crashed from 52% to 40%, while 77% of Americans now recognize tariffs increase prices. Only 4% believe tariffs decrease costs, a number so small you can count it on one hand. Federal courts declaring his tariffs illegal adds legal humiliation to political disaster. When your signature economic policy faces both judicial rejection and voter revolt, your presidency is failing fundamentally. The economic damage is real and measurable. Families pay more for everything, while Trump deflects with unverified claims about Coca-Cola and empty America First rhetoric. His tariffs aren't protecting American workers, they're taxing American consumers. Labor leaders understand what Trump doesn't. The working class, not the billionaire class, is America's backbone. Yet Trump's policies consistently favor wealthy donors while crushing middle-class families with hidden taxes disguised as trade policy. The political implications are devastating. Tariffs rank as the #1 reason Americans disapprove of Trump's performance. When prices rise, approval ratings fall, and that's exactly what's happening as Americans taste Trump's economic medicine and spit it out. This Labor Day exposes the fundamental choice: policies that serve working families or policies that serve Trump's ego while impoverishing everyone else. Do you think Trump's tariff collapse signals broader economic policy failure? Will courts striking down his trade policies reshape the political landscape? Share your thoughts below, subscribe for more economic analysis, and hit that notification bell, because Trump's economic disasters are accelerating and every American family feels the impact.